with me and other members of the Mexican Mafia. So he's going to go out there and do what he has to do.
Why are you talking to law enforcement?
I want to take this opportunity to try to start to make amends for some of the things that I've done against our society. And secondly is because it really helps me being a parolee, being a felon. If I have things in my file that say that I've worked with law enforcement and I've helped you guys, it helps me in the future to get jobs. It shows that I am rehabilitated and I'm not just out there biding my time until I commit another crime.
When you come into prison, it's generally just like being drafted into the Army. You know, as a white man, you know, there's certain expectations you're going to have, as in, working out, keeping physically fit, to passing messages to where even if they say like there's a sexual predator on the yard and you don't get to raise your hand, they tell you to do something it's expected of you to do, and that goes pretty much with anything. You don't have your own, you're not your own man. You have to abide by the rules that have been laid down from long before I started doing time, and and they vary from prison yard to prison yard, basically, but they're all basically the same rules that apply to it. They used to not get mad at you or this or that, and there was no repercussions if you couldn't do a stabbing or you couldn't make sharpen it, or you didn't want to do that. You were just treated as a cast off, but now it's pretty much it's forming into you have to do things now. It's mandatory. There's more dog eat dog. It's like there's a lot of more bad calls now being done as a bad call, being like this guy wasn't a rat, but by word of mouth, somebody else that may have had a problem with this guy can say, hey, that guy's a rat, and then boom, that dude's took him down, and he's not even a rat. His life, he's expired.
You have to overcome all the obstacles that are in your way of knowing what's going on in each pod. Like I was in A pod, there was 2 other NLRs in there with me, and all the other guys were spread out throughout the building. So I would have them sign up for the law library. When we would go over to the law library, I would get kites from all of them, and they would report to me what was going on in their pod. Any dealings with the other races, if they're having problems with their studies. At the time, I was putting emphasis on all the Nazi lowriders in the building learning Spanish, so that if we needed to communicate with each other over the tier, we could speak Spanish. We did this for about a year and a half, and we completed our Spanish studies, and we all spoke Spanish fluently. So we could speak Spanish. The cops wouldn't know what we were saying unless it happened to be a Spanish-speaking police officer.
We'll have defense attorneys that already represented other members, so they got a long history with them. You know what I'm saying? And it's usually these individuals that'll send defense attorneys down there, hey, I need you to go visit so-and-so. I need you to pass them this message. It's usually messages that are being passed. You know what I'm saying? So he'll go down to the county or he'll go to another prison and he'll pull that individual out for an attorney visit. Now, CDC cannot deny them that, attorney-client privileges. So while they're there, he'll pass whatever information he has going. Now, he may know it's wrong, but he's not going to say nothing because he's on a payroll. He's being paid. You know what I'm saying? Like money talks, bullshit walks. So he'll pass it. It's been known at times where they've, took drugs to certain people in county, or coming up to prisons, where you have contact visits. They'll bring things in, because, everybody's dirty. Everybody has a flaw. And it's just up to us to find that flaw. If somebody doesn't want to work with us, that's where extortion comes in. We'll hire an investigator. We'll try to find out where dude lives. Check where his family's at. Take photos of his kids. Next time he comes up, him, her, yeah. Well, this is what we want. Force his hand. He works with us. But most of the time they're willing, because they got a long history with us.
What if they want to stop? They have a long history with you, and all of a sudden okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, then he's going to have to do what I did, pretty much inform. You know what I'm saying? Because, you just can't walk away. You know too much. You know too much. And to leave you out there with all that information is just a risk. It's a security risk. So more than likely, something will be done to them. But more than likely, a lot of them don't leave because the money's good.
How about the court system? Any way to manipulate the court system that your organization does?
The court system, we'll use them like to, get from one county to another county, habeas corpuses, to get people transferred down that way. Like, I was mentioning, to get somebody hit, you know what I mean? Or if we need somebody from another facility to come up, because we need to get at them, talk with them, we'd have them subpoenaed, what have you, in order to come down, and be able to take care of our business. You know what I'm saying? Defense attorneys, but we also went to the extent of trying to intimidate DAs. There's been a couple times where, contracts have been put on DAs.
They cannot prosecute.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, we'll do whatever means in order to help the organization advance. You know what I'm saying? So if it means, intimidating or taking out a DA, yeah, sure, why not?
While we were working the Mexican Mafia RICO in Los Angeles, we saw representatives from, dozens of gangs brought together, even though they were warring on the street. The Mexican Mafia called them together in parks and ordered them to carry out their edicts in the community. And that was something to see. In fact, it took me a while to convince many law enforcement officials that such a thing was happening, and that taxation policies of the Mexican Mafia were being enforced on the street. Since they don't normally report this kind of thing to the police, we had to show them, some law enforcement officials, videotape of these meetings and the paying of these taxes in order to convince them.
So unless you're from like Lowell Street, Opal Street, Matavia, and you're not representing as a Sureño or Tiny Rascals, every other Southern California street gang is loyal to the Mexican Mafia. Yes, and in a lot of ways they would be. They'll put a green light on their neighborhood. The Mexican Mafia will. Yeah, they'll get a few associates from every gang and go to their neighborhood and just start getting off on them, shooting. Then they have to pay to get that green light off them. So they more or less got everybody loyal down there out of fear.
And were they a big influence within your community back when you were a youngster?
Yes, they've always been. You've always had one or two brothers from the neighborhood that basically they run the entire neighborhood. The drug houses, you can't do nothing without them knowing first.
One person's transferring, say, going out to court. We'd send him with what we call little huilas, kites, where he'd have him key-shirt or he'd swallow them. So when he transfers, he'd bring them out, hand them over to who he needs to hand them to. The same way goes for on the streets, somebody paroling. We'd send him with the whole roster of who needs to get hit, guidelines, what needs to be done, and he'd carry out those messages. To allow a gang member like such our organization to run something, that's the biggest thing you could do wrong. You know what I'm saying? From my experience, because now we have control. We're going to say whether you're going to have a good day or not. Not you. You know what I mean? And it allows us to conduct our activities. If we get a councilman or whatever to come talk with us, that just puts our foot in the door. Yeah, you know what? We'll help out the community. But now, what do we got coming? You know what I'm saying? Now once we got that understanding and we're not getting nothing back, well then, let's let the community raise a little hell. You know what I'm saying? Basically the same thing, but on a larger scale. So you don't want to do that. You really don't have no cops around the neighborhoods and everything. Well, like us, our organization would send people out there, and they'd go out there, they'd put a stop to a lot of the violence that's taking place in that neighborhood. Or say you got a mom and pop store at the corner, and you got people kicking back over there, a lot of gangbangers and stuff. Well, these individuals go there, hey, get the hell away from here, make it safer for the moms and pop store. They get more clientele. We make the neighborhoods or communities a little safer for parents and their kids to go out there in the streets and play, right? And doing so because these parents and everything, they see this. They see what this individuals are doing. You know what I'm saying? So, they're going to be more cordial to them. They're going to be more accepting of them. Even though they're committing illegal activities, they may not know what. All they're doing is trying to keep the community safe, right? So that way when law enforcement comes through and want to ask them questions about this certain individual, well, they're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because automatically they're going to think, oh, here comes the cop. What's he want? He coming over here to harass us. You know what I'm saying? And why are we going to give up somebody who's doing something good for the community, for our neighborhood?
Once you parole from Pelican Bay or from a prison, from a level 4 prison, once you become a camarada or a soldier or a high-level associate, it doesn't matter where you're from. You can walk into any other neighborhood unless you've got personal beef with that neighborhood, but you can walk into any other neighborhood and say, here, I'm here representing a carnal here, a brother here. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you're in there to deliver a message from the Mexican Mafia, you'll be respected and you'll be left alone. Because if they mess with you, then there'll be consequences to pay.
Yeah, I was a reserve regiment commander for the San Jose area, meaning that anybody patrolled into the San Jose area or the Santa Clara County little cities within there, well, they fell under my jurisdiction. The other fellow that was with me in charge of overseeing it. So we'd educate people, send them out there, whether to be out there to do crime in order to fund the money back, send out hits.